Alright, normally I don't do gaming videos on my channel, but this day it's pretty much going to be all gaming videos on my channel for different reasons. One, I could have jumped on this Fallout thing uh, back when it was going viral, and it was very controversial, and by now it's just sort of beat to death. Nobody really cares anymore because it's gotten that bad. Uh, the reason I want to do this, though, is as you can see, I have a Fallout shirt. I've got the Fallout pants. Yeah. I got one of these guys. Little Lone Wanderer guys. And, I got the shoes. The shoes. The wallet. And the shot glass. So as you can see, I'm a fan of Fallout. I was first introduced to Fallout in Fallout 3. The game, I thought it was really interesting. Although I did find, admittedly, I would have to say I found it a little dull because the first one I actually played was New Vegas. And New Vegas was developed by Obsidian. And what amazed me so much about New Vegas was the fact that you could put on these faction clothing and hide amongst other factions, just walk amongst them. And there were so many different factions. There's so many different endings. There were so many different ways to go about getting to the ending. You could follow this trail that leads all over the place until eventually it gets you to New Vegas, or you could just skip all that and go directly to New Vegas. And if you invested your attribute points right, say into persuasion, if you dumped all your points into persuasion from the start, you could be almost you could be a pacifist almost entirely and just talk your way out of every situation presented to you. The game, I found it pretty amazing. I replayed it a lot of different times, uh, in a lot of different ways, because, like I said, you could be a pacifist, you could just follow a trail, or you could jump straight to the ending. And there were all these separate endings, all these separate factions. I thought it was amazing. Obsidian only had a year to develop that, and from what I understand, they had like a year to develop this game, and they did such an amazing job. Yes, it was buggy and broken a little bit, but all Bethesda games are pretty much like that. And they had this one really great DLC called Old World Blues that was just hilarious and amazing. One of the best DLCs I've ever experienced. Such old world, like B movie, sci fi, cheesy, just hilarious. All kinds of funny things going on in that. Uh, Fallout 3, after I played New Vegas, I played Fallout 3, and, you know, they had voice actors like Liam Neeson, and they had this really great story and this really interesting world. And the great thing about Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas was the choices you could make. You could make all different kinds of choices. There were so many different dialogue options, so many good or bad choices. There was this sort of alignment bar or whatever, if you're good or bad, in similar fashion to like Knights of the Old Republic. And well, with Fallout 4, a lot of stuff got removed and got geared towards more mainstream stuff. I would have hoped that Obsidian was gonna. I would have hoped that Bethesda was gonna take Obsidian's improvements that they did on the game, and put them in Fallout 4, but that wasn't the case. Bethesda liked to act like that game never existed. I don't know if it's ego or what, but Fallout 4 wasn't that great. It had a lot of problems. You couldn't really be a bad guy. None of the endings were really good or bad. They really all fell into a gray area. And a lot of the dialogue or choices were very simplified to like just an emotion. You click that emotion, they say something completely different than you may have imagined they would say. Uh, and now we come to Fallout 76. This Fallout 76 kind of just crept up on people. It was announced and like very suddenly, and on the stage they kept talking about when they were announcing this game, and they revealed more of it at E3. Uh, Todd Howard kept saying a bunch of strange things. Okay, first of all, when they were announcing this game and they showed the teaser and all that, people were really excited of that. And then people got a little discouraged when they announced it was going to be an online player with only other people online. There weren't going to be any NPCs or anything like that. It was going to be completely online experience, and they talked about the system they've implanted to prevent grievers, and he talked about it. He said, it was a massive undertaking. He mentioned all these other companies that they bought up participating in this mass undertaking. And people were discouraged by, the idea of an online multiplayer game because those games, Fallout is largely single player experience, and it has an incredible world and just so much to it. And with online games, you get into the problem of, you know, kind of milking it and not really giving too much substance and having a lot of grievers and stuff like that. So people, I, I for one believed, you know, I believed in the company. I didn't think it would be bad. I thought, this would be different, but I trust this company because while they have released buggy games, they they've always released good games. You know, well, one thing though kept bothering me though when Todd Howard was talking about this. One thing made me wary. He kept saying something like, "It just works." I don't know how all this works, but it just works. The lighting, the graphics, the landscape, it's all gonna be better. Like he kept saying, "It just works." Like, why are you trying to convince us? It sounded to me like it's just like I feel like he's trying to convince me that it's not broken. And they announced these special edition power armor sets and all this and that would be released with these canvas bags and power armor helmets. And a little bit of time passed. Everybody was pretty excited for it. There were mixed feelings on it and stuff, but Bethesda flew out a bunch of YouTube influencers, people like Juicehead and Fudge Muppet and a bunch of these other, pretty much the Avengers of Bethesda, got flown out to experience Fallout 76, the pre-beta version. They told them that this was an older model. It's that they have a different model for the beta and all that now. They gave them swag and a great weekend. They got to stay at the Greenbrier, which is actually in the game, and they were all excited to see the Greenbrier in the game and know that they were staying there. And Bethesda, their employees just like hovered over them while they played this experience. They got a limited time to play this Fallout 76 model that wasn't the beta model. And there were a lot of problems in that model that, this was pre beta. So they didn't think too much of it. They did have some negative things to say and all that, but they left generally excited to play more. They couldn't wait to get their hands on more. They were wined and dined. And no offense to them, but they were pretty much just used and manipulated to go out there and convince others to be excited for this game because they themselves were excited to play more, to get their hands on more, to experience more of this Fallout 76 world. Most people think they went on to just be shills and sellouts because they got these all this nice gear and they were wanting to dine, but really they were manipulated. They weren't just shills. They were manipulated themselves with a fun experience and an amazing weekend. So moving on from that, the game came out and it was a beta. The beta wasn't exactly your traditional sense of beta, as it was more revealed to be like a break everything type thing. It wasn't really the traditional beta. This thing was very incredibly buggy. There were all kinds of problems with downloading it, and not to mention that you couldn't buy this on Steam. You had to buy it directly from their site, and then there was this whole problem with uh returns. They don't accept returns. You have a limited like 30-day policy to return to get a return on the game. But if you've installed the game, you can't get a return on the game. And it, how do you know you want to return the game if you, this is just one of the many problems that follow. Okay, the beta was incredibly broken and buggy for many people. It would take that, and not only that, the beta was only released for limited times, limited days, in limited area, in certain areas. Like every other day, the beta would be set to a specific time zone for people in this area. So, say people in America are they get a couple hours to play, and then the next day, people in another country get a couple hours to play. Uh, they worked it around like people's job schedules, which is understandable. But as a beta, betas are traditionally not reduced to time windows, like little a couple of hours a day, a few days a week. People paid extra money to participate in a beta. And here's one thing that bothers me: people pay extra money for betas. They pay extra money for betas. They are paying extra money to play your game and tell you what the problems are with your own product, to basically fix your problems for you. So that's one thing about the beta. Uh, and then there was the bag gate. People that bought this expensive, the most loyal hardcore customers that bought these very expensive, like $200 power armor sets. When they got their hands on them, the canvas bags were replaced with nylon bags. Bethesda never told anybody that never alerted any customers or anything about a switch out or anything. So people received these cheap nylon bags when they were promised canvas bags. And when people started complaining about this, Bethesda customer support response or whatever said that we're sorry, there was a shortage on materials and we had to switch out the bags and we have no intention of doing anything about that. Then Bethesda came out with an official response saying this is a temporary employee that doesn't work for the company and it doesn't speak for us. And they went on to pretty much say what that person just said, that there was a shortage of bags and we had to switch them out, and there was a shortage of materials and we had to switch out the bags, and currently we plan to do nothing about it at this time. So when people complained about that, Bethesda decided to give them 500 atoms, which is the equivalent of $5, which is the equivalent of $5 in-game currency, not money you can use in real life or anything. But people spent $200 for this set with this special bag, this canvas bag, and this power armor helmet. And the canvas bag was a large incentive in acquiring that special set. And the people that buy this stuff are your most hardcore loyal customers. These are the people you decided to shit on, to piss on, to spit in the face of. Your most loyal customers. You offer them $5 because there things started to crop up about your misleading business practices and how you might face for class action lawsuit. And so they offered $5 in-game currency, which couldn't really be used to buy anything but like in the game, except for maybe like a hat or some piece of clothing that's really irrelevant. um, and topping that, it was later revealed that influencers got the quality canvas bags. The influencers who got flown out there, got wined and dined, and got all this free swag, they got canvas bags. Guys that didn't pay for the Power Armor Edition. Guys that Bethesda was using to sell his product, to go out there and say, hey, I mean, like I said, they weren't shills. They were manipulated. Uh, so these guys got the quality canvas bags, and there is no shortage of Here's another thing: the great canvas shortage of 2018. That's not a real deal. There's no shortage on canvas material. Canvas material isn't even that expensive to acquire, but they switched it out with cheap nylon bags, an even cheaper bag, and then they finally got told people, once people were complaining about their in-game currency, their 500 items. Bethesda released a statement that they finally got their hands on the canvas material, and it's going to be like 6 months before the bags. They're going into production, and it's going to be like 6 months before people get their hands on these bags. And people were relieved, but they shouldn't have been, because the only reason he did something about it is because people started complaining about it. He tried to switch it out without anybody noticing, and it was part of the advertisement picture and stuff, this canvas bag. So following that, there was other stuff going on where what they told people was, give us your personal information and we'll send us uh proof that you've purchased the collector's edition, and so we can get you these bags that are owed to you. So people had to go on their website and fill out their information, card number, and stuff like that, names, addresses, general information about them. And then somebody on Reddit, some girl that plays Fallout 76, went on there and like, hey, to everybody, hey, Fallout 76 players, uh, I can see all your information on the Bethesda site where you submit your tickets to get a refund on your, well, not to get a refund on your game, but to prove that you've purchased the Power Armor Edition, and you're gonna get the bag. Basically, people had to submit their information to prove they bought it, and so they could get the bag issued to them. Some woman told them that all their information's exposed to her. She can see all their card numbers and all their personal information. And uh, this was at least a couple of hundred, if not thousand players with their personal information leaked for at least a few hours. It's unknown if anybody got their hands on that information, but this was a big deal that Bethesda didn't address for at least several hours. Their information was exposed. And when apologies were released about that, I mean, things just kept happening and happening and happening. Like, people went and data mined the game, and they figured out, a lot of stuff in the atomic shop that's listed. There's hundreds of items that they plan to sell in the in-game atomic shop. All these items are overpriced too, and a lot of them are items that you could get for free in Fallout 4. They exist in Fallout 4. They're like clothing items in game. A lot of these items you have to pay for on Fallout 76 that are free in Fallout 4, and they have the same like coating and texture and all that, and they're just dirty variants. And some of these products for sale in the Atomic Shop you can actually find in Fallout 76 itself without paying anything. But none of that's really explained anywhere or in any way. And A lot of these items too are very overpriced. They're like $10, $20. Uh, and data miners also found like Fallout 76 uses some of the coding from Fallout 4 and uh, from Skyrim itself. That's why these scorched beasts behave like dragons from Skyrim. So all this was supposed to be a massive undertaking of all these different companies, but it's a buggy, unplayable mess for a lot of people. It was unplayable, ridiculously unplayable. And the whole grieving system, like, it affected the rest of the game. Like, the grieving system was where if somebody's trying to kill you, they can barely hurt you, and it's to prevent them from grieving you. But I think that was somehow it affected players just in general because people would get in the game and they wouldn't be able to hurt anything at all. Like their weapons would be garbage, their stuff would be garbage. They wouldn't be able to really hurt any of the any of the creatures, monsters, or anything in the game. And there, another thing is the world is filled with robot NPCs, so it makes no sense why there are no actual NPCs in the game. NPCs are non-player characters. They're basically human AI or whatever that give you missions and stuff in the game. But Bethesda wanted to have everybody dead in that world. So here's another negative about Fallout 76 is that everybody you encounter is dead. You find these missions and logs where you got to go try to save somebody, but you already know everybody in this world is dead. So there's never going to be any surprises. You're always going to find out that something terrible happened to that person and they died. So it takes out like the surprise, the suspense, and all that. And another thing is when you're trying to group up, because it is a, you know, players players teaming up together, is that because there's no NPCs, most of the missions are given to you from audio logs and tons of reading. So you have to stand still and read all this stuff. Your team's waiting on you while you're having to read all this dialogue to figure out what's going on and figure out your mission, or you're having to listen to these audio logs. When Bethesda didn't put any kind of thing in there, like a switch to turn off other, because anytime you're in range of anybody, they can hear you. They can hear You can hear them talking, whether you want to or not. Whether it's annoying the hell out of you, whether there's babies crying in the background, there's screaming, there's yelling, there's heavy Darth Vader breathing. Whether you want to hear any of that or not, you've got to. And these audio logs, you have to listen to them. These long-winded audio logs, you and your team has to stand there and listen to them too if they want to know what the mission is. So everybody's got to listen to this, which takes out from the game the experience of the game. Something an NPC could have just resolved by being present. Anyways, the Atomic Shop, also, like I was saying, there's hundreds of clothing in there. Not only that, is that around Christmas time, they release these special Christmas things that are just garbage, like emojis, expressions, and clothing that are incredibly overpriced, like $20, $30. And they came out with this fake slashed price on them as if you're getting a deal. And once the holidays, the Christmas was over or whatever, they removed like that, saying that this was discounted, and it's still the same price. They try to trick people into thinking they were getting a deal for the time. And $20 or $30 for some Christmas themed thing when Christmas is only going to be around for a few days. That's kind of ridiculous prices. But there's a lot more to this, like not just with the vinyl bag, and there were people getting banned for like trolling somebody else. They got banned for life for this is what people do on these type of games. They troll people, and these people were, saying like calling him gay boy and stuff like that. But they were laughing about it and stuff. It wasn't really hate speech. It was just teenagers being teenagers. You know how they are. They're immature. They're childish. Uh, they kind of just this group of people followed this other player around And according to him, jumping servers and stuff, following around, just saying gay slurs to him and stuff like that. These people end up banned for life on a game they paid $60 for just because they were making gay jokes and stuff to him. Now, I don't agree with what they did, but banning them for life over something that was a joke, it's a little bit, the crime doesn't fit the punishment. Anyways, beyond that, more people got banned for having this uh, for it being figured out that they have this sort of cheat program on their computer. And a lot of people weren't even using this cheat program in their computer. It's just installed in their computer by default or whatever because they mod other games. So Bethesda started banning people with this. Some of them actually did use this, a lot didn't. Some use it just to fix bugs in 76, but a lot of them are getting banned because they have this program in their computer, and now Bethesda expects them to write some sort of long winded essay on why they need to have that installed on their computer to play Fallout 76. And all the lighting and stuff, all that stuff that Ron Howard said, that the landscape improvements and all that's garbage. This game is largely based off the coding of Fallout 4, and it's not really a massive undertaking at all. How it's a buggy, broken mess that is just ridiculous and insulting to customers. Man, this was one of my favorite game companies. I really like. They put out Fallout, they put out Skyrim, the Elder Scrolls series, but now you can't trust them at all because their level of incompetence and their misleading marketing, it's, it's just, dude. I mean, there's only one company as bad as these guys. These guys used to be the most beloved company, but the only other company in comparison to Bethesda now is EA, which throws identity politics in there and insults their customers and tells them not to buy their game if they don't like what they're doing. You know, they've shifted their focus from historical accuracy to empowering women and breaking historical accuracy and insulting their fans, and they've lost a lot of money. But EA's always had bad and questionable business tactics. Nothing EA does surprises me at all. But Bethesda, this was a surprise. This was a surprise. There are bugs in Fallout 76 that exist in Fallout 4 and were never fixed in Fallout 4 and have been carried over to Fallout 76 because they never fixed them. Bugs that existed years ago still exist in Fallout 76. Fallout 76 is a complete train wreck, a mess. This is the Fallout. All this stuff is the fallout of Fallout 76. I mean, it's a disaster. This game company can no longer be trusted at all. They spread themselves too thin, saying all these companies were involved in making this game. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. Maybe that was a flat out lie. Or if they were involved, it's obvious your company tried to get too big too quick and spread itself too thin, and nobody's on the same page, and you've ended up with a broken, buggy mess that just shows a incredible level of incompetence. And what's really sad is this was one of the few game franchises I had left, and now I just don't want to buy any of your products, man. I don't. I don't trust you. I don't trust your company. He kept saying, it just works. It just works. I'm like, why the hell does he keep saying that, man? Why does he keep saying that? That is strange. And here you have the results. And frankly, I'm not going to be supporting this company anymore. I'll wait to see how their product goes with other customers before I put any money or anything on this. I was actually going to buy Fallout 76, but that one thing he said, it just works. It just works. It's stuck in my head, so I put off buying Fallout 76. I can only afford to buy like one game a year. So I went with Red Dead Redemption 2 this year instead of Fallout 76. Yeah, and that game has its own problems. But this was just incompetence. This was a high level of incompetence. And I don't know if it's irreversible, you know. It sucks that everything I like keeps dying. Star Wars is dead. You know, all the Star Wars games, all the games I used to enjoy are dead. Like Battle, Knights of the Old Republic, Battlefront 2, uh, the older ones back in the 2000s. Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2, and Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2, and the original Battlefront 1 and 2. All those games were enjoyed. I enjoyed those, that they got canceled. I enjoyed the Silent Hill franchise, the first 4 games anyway, and that franchise went to hell. Uh, I enjoyed Resident Evil Outbreak and Outbreak File 2, that got canceled. I enjoyed, you know, the Fable franchise, and that kind of went downhill and turned into something else. And that franchise is dead. And uh, Mass Effect went south. That franchise is dead. Dragon Age is talking about getting woke now. I don't know. That was the last franchise I really had left because I don't trust Bethesda anymore with Fallout. And if he can do this with Fallout, what's to stop him from doing this with the next Elder Scrolls installment? And everybody's been waiting for it, and you got to wait for like 2025 or something now. This game, I mean, screw this company. That's how I feel, man. Screw this company. There's pretty much no game franchise left because I also enjoyed the Dead Rising franchise, but it took a drastic shift from the first game to the second game where it came all about customizing weapons and stuff. And it took an even further shift with not with like the off the record game and the smaller arcade games, but with the third game, it took a drastic shift and that whole franchise went downhill too. And the Star Wars movies, you know, that whole franchise went downhill. Um, Almost everything I enjoy is getting killed. So that sucks. Uh, Anyways, comment about how you feel about all this stuff. What do you think about all this? Are you gonna support this company anymore? Are you gonna give them the benefit of the doubt? Are you gonna stick with them? Do you think they're redeemable? Uh, I'd really like to hear some different, diverse opinions on this. Uh, Check out my other videos. I'm not a gaming channel. I don't usually do gaming videos. I do live action, like comic book adaptations, review movies on comic book characters and superheroes and stuff like that. That's generally what this channel's about. I don't usually do gaming videos. Uh, but if you're interested in seeing reviews on superhero movies and stuff like that, generally, check out my other videos. Like, subscribe. Uh, I'm not monetized. Check out my GoFundMe. Check out my PayPal. I'm not gonna. I was gonna use Patreon, but then a bunch of controversy came up with Patreon, and obviously they have a biased opinion on what freedom of speech is, and it, uh, I don't approve with what a certain individual said or anything like that, but they took it completely out of context and they just shut down his whole Patreon. That's a whole nother topic. Anyways, like, subscribe, check out my other videos, check out my GoFundMe link, check out my PayPal if you want to support my channel. I'd greatly appreciate it. You know, like, subscribe, stay awesome.